Stephen Reid from Michell Wool, welcome back on Flow.
Thank you very much.
And I want to throw you a quick comment from a colleague of yours, I believe, in the commentary space on wool, Andrew Woods, who has said, I'll just quote this here, the supply chain on wool has absorbed Australian production this season so far. Good prices, albeit helped by the exchange rate. But looking further ahead, there's enough economic concerns, such as interest rates and Chinese economic growth, and political concerns like the Ukraine in the world to warrant caution in the outlook for apparel markets such as greasy wool. You agree with those comments?
Well, Andrew's a good mate and he's far more elegant. Presumably that's written, not spoken. Far more elegant myself, but look, generally speaking, he's right. You know, if you look at the wool supply chain, you've got consumer demand for finished product, and there's some question marks out there. Having said that, there is a fair bit of catch-up buying for apparel, and at the end of the day, given we're opening up the barriers around the world, people are asked to go back to work. You know, the clothes you had 3 years ago just don't work anymore. So I think that consumer demand is probably lesser of the concern. The bit that he touched on there that really worries me and the Michell Group is the supply chain. Getting hold of vessels to export wool, they're being delayed, cancelled, transshipment in mystery countries to get to Europe and even to China. Instead of taking 4 weeks, it takes 8, sometimes 12, getting it cleared and into a mill to process. So the whole supply chain has slowed down dramatically. What that means, though, is when exporters and processors buy wool from growers, they pretty much pay cash. And when you invoice to your clients around the world, you provide 4, 5, 6 months finance. So that whole supply chain slowing up is causing a most enormous cash flow issue. And I think that's the major force we're seeing right at the moment, which we saw this week with a few more bales being offered. And as we touched on last week with your crystal ball, the market was tested and it fell 1.9%. And we'll get to it in a minute, but next week, there's a lot more wool up, so I think the primary factor's there. But to my mate Andrew, he's on the knocker and very, very astute. But I think the primary factor is the slowness in the supply chain causing cash flow dramas.
So when it comes to, I guess, people trading in the hoodie or whatever pyjamas they were wearing at home while they were working to head in for some office apparel, maybe the markets are thinking people are going to be a bit more circumspect about their spending habits till they know just how the world's coming out of all those potential crises.
To a certain extent, but we haven't quite seen it in Australia, or maybe in Victoria, New South Wales. We have the UK now. There is no COVID regulations. There's huge demand for people to get back to work. And at the end of the day, you can't turn up, as you say, in your pyjamas or tracky dacks. It just doesn't work.
I've tried.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, lucky you're on radio, not TV. But there will be decent demand. The retailers in particular for the last 2 years have got nothing on their shelves, and getting hold of it's quite a challenge. And just to look at one of our clients who supplies Marks and Spencers, mainly in the UK, but they do have some Euro coverage. You know, they used to have rules that you have to deliver on the second Friday every week between 11 and 12, and if you didn't deliver the apparel on time, you got 2% discount one week, 4% discount. As a supplier now, people are saying get stuffed. You're going to have to hold some stock. Just-in-time buying is a thing of the past. We can't guarantee vessels. We can't guarantee clearance. We can't guarantee trucks. So there is a rebuilding of stock at retail trying to go on. So I think some of those forces will help us. But to come back to that point I made, which Andrew alluded to too, there's an awful lot of wool that's still out there on the sheep's back. Shearing's delayed due to weather and getting hold of shearing teams. So there is an issue pending. So that word caution and let's watch the market, I think is what it's all about.
Now, even so, you're being a bit circumspect about last week, the auctions during the week this week. There was a little bit more than a bit more out there on the market this week, but there's a heck of a lot more coming through next week.
Yeah, exactly. You and I in our pontification last week did get it right. The market was tested. The indicator actually did fall at 1.9%, so it closed at 14.22, down 27 cents. The Aussie dollar exchange rate, which has been helping us quite a bit, actually moved up. I think this morning it's 71.77, so it did crack just under 70 at one stage. So on the euro, it's still pretty attractive, actually. That hasn't moved too much. All merino types fell, everything between 35 to 45 cents, except for cardings, and particularly fine wool cardings, actually went up 20 cents, which is a reflection that demand for knitwear is probably better than demand for weaving. But next week, 55,000 bales, a real test for the market. Pass-in rate this week was 17. So given what we've seen in the past, I suspect growers who, generally speaking, in terms of price of sheep and price of meat, are doing terribly well and having a good season, albeit a complicated one, I suspect we'll see a fair bit of wool withdrawn and a fair bit of wool passed in.
All right, well, we'll see how we go with those predictions next week. Stephen, thank you for your time today. That's much appreciated.
Excellent. I appreciate the good questions, actually. It keeps me on my toes.